Hey guys, it's Alyssa, the hopeless romantic redhead.
And I'm Danielle, the whodunit detective.
And welcome to Main Character Syndrome. If you feel like you are the main character in your life, you are in the right place. Wow, Danielle, it has been so much fun. Let's kick off with our main character moment.
Let's see. Oh, my main character moment, I found out that Taylor Swift and I own the same dress.
I saw that.
Yes. She owns this beautiful Zimmerman dress. And I say it's so beautiful because, one, it's beautiful, but two, because I also own it in just a different color.
Ooh.
But as soon as I saw that, I started screaming, and I was like, Andrew, this dress that I have, Taylor Swift is wearing it right now. And I saw him looking at the picture and scrolling back and forth between her dress and my dress. And he goes, "You wore it better." And I was like, well, I think you're definitely lying about that.
He has to say that, though.
Yeah.
If he didn't, he would be 6 feet under.
Yeah, exactly.
That is quite the flex. I don't know if I can live up to that. I did meet Sarah Evans.
I saw. Tell me about that.
That was pretty fun. Silver Dollar City let us come out to Media Girls Night Out. Everything was decked in pink. And we went to the Sarah Evans concert, and they snuck her back after the concert to meet us.
That's so cool.
It was amazing. I definitely felt like a VIP.
What was your favorite song that she sang?
Ooh, Suds in the Bucket is obviously one of my all-time faves. You Were Born to Fly, and also Perfect.
Classics.
Yeah. If you guys have a main character moment and you'd like to share that, please, we would love to hear it on our social media, Main Character Syndrome Pod. Let's get into our topic of the day. So last time we talked about books being made into movies.
Correct.
And so now we're going to talk about books versus movies.
I love books and I love movies, so this will be a good one.
This is interesting because we're going to kind of dive into books that were turned into good movies and books that were turned into not so good movies. So I personally like the books better because they're more descriptive and you can read what a person is feeling and the thoughts going on inside their head. Movies rely more on visual telling, and if the actors don't really portray the feelings very well, the movie can be a flop.
Yeah, I agree. There's not really necessarily a time limit on books or a page limit per se, but in movies, you kind of only have so many scenes that you can have so much time that this movie can be, unless you're making like a super long extended movie, in which case, it has to be really good because I'm not sitting in a movie theater for 3 hours.
Yeah,
3.5 hours.
Let's talk about the worst movies made from books, and let's right off the bat talk about It Ends With Us.
Yikes.
Big yikes. That I think needed like more of a, if they were going to bring it to TV, it needed to be more of a series so they could spend more time on it.
Yeah, it just was so rushed. That one, the time limit was definitely very obvious.
The time limit, the acting, leaving half of the stuff that was in the book out of the movie, and the most like emotional, impactful parts just didn't do it for me.
I actually see something on your worst movies, and it's triggering me right now.
Oh no! Is it Gatsby?
It's The Great Gatsby. Literally, you have that on one of your worst. I have that one on a successful one, mostly because I was obsessed, literally obsessed with The Great Gatsby when I was in high school. You had to read it, for a class project, and I really felt so drawn to Jay Gatsby and his story. I felt so bad for him. I felt the love he had for Daisy, and it was like gut-wrenching. I love that book, and like the idea of like Jay Gatsby is like driving, looking through his rearview mirror, like driving forward and looking just behind so much. Okay, so now that I got into the book
was great.
The movie I loved. I'm also a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan.
Yes.
This is also learning that he dumps girls at 25 and is now like a bit older and dates really young women. But I'm obsessed with Leonardo DiCaprio. And so I think I would like any movie that he came out with, and then him being Jay Gatsby too. I was like, this is amazing.
He is pretty. He's a very pretty man. I don't know. The Gatsby just was not great for me. I mean, it was underwhelming. It wasn't my favorite. Yes, Leonardo DiCaprio was the lead, but there were so many things in the book that I felt like they could have portrayed on screen better.
The Eyes of Dr. I can't remember the doctor's name. Yeah, they hinted at that in the movie, I remember, and it wasn't explained as well. There was just one brief scene where he's like, the eyes of Dr. So-and-so are always watching. But I don't know. I really liked it.
And then, like, spoiler alert, the ending, when he's, like, floating in his pool, I don't know. I kind of laughed.
I love that this movie, The Great Gatsby, has been remade 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, like, been so many reboots of this, and I think out of all of the remakes that this one was the best.
This one's the better one, I will say. I'm sure we'll get more, so it's gonna be fun to see what kind of happens in the future. Here's one that is one of my absolute least favorites, and that is the Mortal Instruments City of Bones. The Mortal Instruments series is really, really good, and the fact that they destroyed it with the movie in 2013, starring Lily Collins and Jamie Campbell Bower. This is when I really liked Lily. She was one of my favorite actresses, but I did not like this movie particularly. I didn't like the casting for Jace, and the movie was just terrible.
I have not seen that or read the book.
Mm-hmm. It's also, then in 2016, it got turned into a series on Freeform, which is also used to be ABC Family. And that starred Catherine McNamara and Dominic Sherwood. Again, I was not happy with the casting for the male lead. I thought they could have done better. But it was kind of like a cringy, like, obviously they're YA books, but I don't know. It just seemed a little bit more cringy, teeny bopper, like shadow hunters, demons, whatever. But it was underwhelming. It just was not my favorite.
Did you read the Pretty Little Liars books?
Yes, that was on my list too.
Okay, I didn't read the books, but I watched the TV show. I liked the TV show until, the millionth season where it went on for way too long.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people who read the books did not necessarily like the show because it veered off a lot.
Oh, it veered off a lot. The last book completely. Because, there were only basically the series of Pretty Little Liars was the first season of the TV show. And so they changed everything of the ending of that book. A was not who A was. The characters that died in the end, some house fire didn't happen. I mean, there were so many things that were so confusing when I first saw Pretty Little Liars after I read the book. I was like, this is different. This is a completely different entity. And then it just got really dark.
So would you recommend the book over the show?
The show is a lot more entertaining, and it has a lot more twists and turns. Obviously, it's got, 5-6 seasons?
I lost count.
It's a long-running series. And now it's got, a couple spinoffs with, Mona and Allie. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're keeping the universe alive.
I know you did not read the books, okay, wait a second. Holy cow.
She didn't know that I never read Twilight before.
Alyssa has never read the Twilight series, not one single book, and I find that to be the most mind-blowing. That needs to be, your fun fact that you give. Oh, by the way, I host a book podcast, but I've also never read the Twilight series.
It just wasn't my favorite.
You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know.
Well, you only
tried to read the first book.
Which, I will say, this is on the Twilight, the first movie. They got better. The first movie is on my yikes list.
Honestly, the movies in general were horrible.
You go back and you rewatch at least the first movie now, and you're like, this is cringy.
I compare Twilight to Vampire Diaries, and there's a distinct difference with quality.
Well, I will say, they get better when you get a little bit further. Kristen Stewart, her acting is her own.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely her personality.
She's definitely that awkwardness, and which Bella is awkward. But I think she took the awkwardness to an extreme. And then Robert Pattinson in the first movie is all so dark and mysterious. I'm just making all of these noises with my mouth. But he's just very interesting. So the acting in the first not great. I will say it gets better throughout, the plotline grows, and as they've developed this series, they could start making longer movies, in which case they turned the last one into the 2-part series, which I think was a great idea.
Yeah, I did see that, and I did like the last 2 movies. It was Breaking Dawn.
Yes.
That was it. Did not like the fact, though, that Taylor Lautner's character, Jacob, was imprinted on her daughter,
On baby.
her child.
But, like, he doesn't get older, and she grows up fast, so, you know, you just kind of get over that. It's like Game of Thrones.
Oh, you man, that's another one.
Get over all of the incest, which
oh, man.
A while, but
yeah, that's another one on the list.
That was one of my successful, actually.
It was successful up until the last season.
Yes. Last season, you know,
yeah.
That was ridiculous.
They did my girl Dani dirty. I've talked about it. But yeah. I'm not spoiling it.
Actually, you know what? It's been out for so long.
It's been out for so long.
If you haven't watched Game of Thrones yet,
then that's on you.
Yeah.
But they did Dani dirty. I'm just going to say that.
So.
That could mean so many things.
So bad.
One of the books that I read as a child, probably middle school, was A Wrinkle in Time. And it came out as a movie in 2018. It starred Oprah, Reese Witherspoon, and Chris Pine. It had, like, so much potential. But the substance of the novel really got lost with all of the visual effects. And, like, everything that made it, like, emotional as a YA novel kind of just, again, it was lost. It was underwhelming. I didn't like it.
I did not read the book.
No.
And it's been a very long time since I saw the movie.
It was a very long time since I read the book and saw the movie. But just not one of my favorites.
That's interesting. I love Oprah. Love Reese Witherspoon. Chris Pine. I'm thinking of the wrong Chris, but
he was in Wonder Woman.
Yes. Okay.
The Giver was another one. Loved the book. I loved the concept. So if you guys have never read The Giver, it's about a boy named Jonas who lives in a seemingly idyllic world of conformity and contentment when he begins to spend time with the Giver, who is an old man who is the sole keeper of the community's memories. Jonas discovers the dangerous truths of his community's secret past. Armed with the power of knowledge, Jonas realizes that he must escape from their world to protect himself and those he loves, a challenge no one has ever completed successfully.
That sounds good. The movie was bad?
It was really good. The movie was just, again, like, some of the actors were a little flat, and the book was a lot more impactful and emotional. And I feel like when you read a book and then you watch the movie, it's really hard, as I've said, to make everybody happy, because as a screenwriter, you only have 90 to 120 minutes to fit everything in the book on screen.
Yeah.
So they have to take all the dialogue in the book and create visual effects. I will say what they did pretty well was, like, the colorless cinematography when everything was, like, conformed and everything had to be the same in society. And then towards the end, spoiler, things get better and they kind of, like, break free from that conformity. And then there's color in the world. And so I really like the cinematography. The plot and just, like, the acting, the emotion just was not there for me.
I have on a successful list The Notebook.
Okay.
I feel like, well, that's such a long movie that they were able to kind of put in a lot of details. And, I mean, it's just a classic. I mean, you can't say that The Notebook wasn't a super successful movie and book.
I mean, Rachel McAdams slayed. So did Ryan Gosling.
Always. Wes. Always. Anything Rachel McAdams, I'm going to watch.
Oh, seriously. And anything Nicholas Sparks is gold.
Yes, basically. Just Bible.
Yeah. Here's one that I absolutely hated. Vampire Academy.
Tell me about it.
It starred Zoe Dutch and Lucy Fry. It came out in 2014. It was a movie based off of the series Vampire Academy, and I loved that series wholeheartedly. And then I saw it got turned into a movie, and the male lead wasn't who I pictured at all, Dimitri, if you've read the series. And then it just was too campy, too comedy. It was just not, it did not fit the vibe of the book that I had in my head.
It's a real fear of mine that Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and all of the Sarah J. Maas books that are being turned into shows, movies are really going to suck.
Yeah. Well, that's why SJM has been so picky.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
If I were an author and my books are being turned into movies, I would literally want to make sure that I'm like in there every step, because it wouldn't ruin necessarily the book's reputation, but I mean, it sucks to be, I feel like, on this list of movies, TV shows that were just did not do the book justice.
No, absolute flops.
And that's what people see. Like, people who didn't read the books, they see the show, they see the movie, and they're like, ugh. Like, everyone who was watching Game of Thrones, holy cow, those TV shows were incredible. I imagine that sparked several people, thousands of people, to actually start reading the books. And I want to read the books. I just have not had the time.
Oh, also fun fact, speaking of Taylor Swift, she actually was in The Giver.
Interesting.
She was so young. Very, very young. I didn't even realize it was her until I saw like the cast list. I was like, Taylor Swift? What?
She was also in Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
Taylor Lautner.
Taylor Lautner. Oh, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Okay. I liked the first movie of this one, and then not so much the last few, the Divergent series.
Yeah, I did not like the Divergent series movies. I read a little bit of the books, and they were good, but the movies, yeah, they didn't really do it for me.
They did deviate in Allegiant from the book to the movie. They changed a lot of the, like, what happened, because I think a character actually dies, and then she actually doesn't die in the movie, and so it's like, kind of, how do you change it that dramatically and that drastically?
But that's like My Sister's Keeper. Do you remember that? It was
vaguely. That was a long time ago.
The girl who had cancer or all of these problems, and the parents had another child who was like doing bone marrow transplants and all of that stuff for that one child.
Yep.
But yeah, I saw that they changed the ending.
Yeah. How can you change something that drastically and expect people who read the book to absolutely love the movie?
Yeah. When I was a kid, the series of unfortunate events, did you read those books?
I did read the book. I didn't see the show.
Loved the books. Was obsessed with them. And the original series with Jim Carrey sucked.
Tell me how you really feel.
It did. It was like, I believe it was actually made into a movie. And they like combined maybe the first 2 books, first 3 books into one movie, maybe. This is a long time ago. I'm trying to remember, but I just remember it was not good, and they did not pick up. Like the next several books. It has been turned, though, I think, into a spin-off show on some streaming platform. It might be Netflix. I think it's Netflix.
Interesting. Might have to give that a little watch. I didn't like even the trailers for the one with Jim Carrey. I was just like, this is weird.
It was not good.
Okay. Here are the ones that I think were the best movies made from books. Number 1, The Hunger Games, book 1. That was literally from beginning to end to the book. I mean, they left out a few scenes, mainly some kiss scenes, which I wasn't super happy about because I'm a hopeless romantic, as you all know. But it was pretty similar from the book to the screen adaptation, which I really appreciated. Book 2 and 3, I did enjoy that they turned Mockingjay into 2 parts because I think it needed that much time to be told. But it was a lot darker in the book than it was in the movies.
Yeah. It was a lot darker in the books, you said? I like the darkness.
Yeah. The darkness was cool, but they didn't really portray a ton of that on screen. So I don't know if it just would have been too traumatizing for the audience that they were trying to reach, and they couldn't go from PG-13 to rated R. But some of the stuff, I was like, oh my God.
Best movies, we can't ignore Harry Potter.
No. I love Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh. And like, of course, you know, it's just, it really goes without saying, any book is going to be greater detail than the movies. But I mean, the casting of Harry Potter has, I mean, the children, so perfect for all of those roles. It's just 10 out of 10.
I mean, on
the
point.
movies just kept getting better and better. My favorite is, though, The Prisoner of Azkaban, which I think is kind of controversial.
Which one is that one?
It's the one where Sirius Black is, like, Harry finds out that that's, like, his...
oh, yes, with the Dementors?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Is that 5 or 6?
It's 3.
Oh, my gosh. There are so many Harry Potter books.
Yes, pretty early on.
That's very early on. Okay, so I've been hearing mixed reviews on the 6th one with Harry Potter from the book to the movie adaptation because someone told me it was like way different. Did you read the Harry Potter books?
Oh, yeah, I read all of them. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Oh, The Half-Blood Prince.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't think that one was my favorite. It wasn't bad. I didn't like really necessarily the Goblet of Fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wasn't my favorite, or like it was just overplayed on TV too many times.
That's possible.
And I feel like the Half-Blood Prince wasn't played as much. But I think the Half-Blood Prince is probably a slower book and kind of a slower movie.
It's definitely a slower movie. It wasn't one of my favorites. I think I was more confused than anything because in the book it explained a lot more, and everything was just happening so fast in book 6. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, you always get like. I had to Google that. You kind of forget about it.
Love Leonardo DiCaprio, Killers of the Flower Moon. They absolutely killed it from the book to the movie adaptation.
I'd say for the most part, and I think in a good way, they removed some things. So from the book, which I read, a lot of the book is also about kind of the birth of the FBI. And what I love is kind of like how they didn't really take that route actually in the movie and instead told the tragic story of the Osage Nation being murdered from within.
Yeah, and kind of told it from her perspective as well.
Yeah, so I really liked how they took the book and made their own movie from that book, but really went off of the stories of the tribe members, the families' testimonies about what their grandmothers, grandfathers went through. So that was definitely a 10 out of 10.
Here's one that I'm sure everyone's seen. American Prometheus, also known as Oppenheimer on the big screen. I did not read the book, but I've heard rave reviews and how the book was just completely turned into something like a work of art in Oppenheimer because personally I loved the sounds, and when the bomb goes off, I mean, it's just dead silent and you just hear ringing like a bomb actually went off and you can feel that in the theater.
Yeah, that was a good movie. It definitely like you felt the emotions.
Robert Downey Jr., Cillian Murphy, killer cast.
Lord of the Rings.
I have not. Oh, no, I have seen that. I didn't read the books, though.
I didn't read through all of the books either, but I am going through all of the... I've watched all of the original Lord of the Rings. I've watched all of the Hobbit series, and then Andrew and I are now watching the series, the new spin-off series they just made.
The Rings? It's Rings something.
Oh, gosh, I'm embarrassed.
Lord of the Rings. Fellowship of the Ring? No, wait, that's the movie.
Lord of the Rings spin-off. The Rings of Power.
The Rings of Power. I knew it was Rings something.
Yeah. We watched the first series months ago when it first came out, and now we're watching the second season.
My co-host Michael is absolutely obsessed with Lord of the Rings, and that's all he can talk about is the Rings of Power.
It's good.
Okay, you saw Boys in the Boat. Did you read the book?
No.
It is based off of a book.
Yes.
We've heard rave reviews about it.
Yes, and I was a coxswain, and so what that is actually, I should explain. A coxswain is on a rowing team, on a crew team, and they sit in the boat. We steer the boat and have a little microphone. And so, yeah, it follows a team of boys, obviously, who a lot of them came from nothing, and one of them was homeless, and follows them as they go actually, like, learn how to row and then go to the Olympics and win.
That is so cool. I need to watch that movie.
It is. It's really touching.
Here's one. Fool Me Once. It's a series on Netflix, but it was also a book. Michelle Keegan stars in it. It was released actually this year, 2024. So it's about a woman who sees her dead husband, who was brutally murdered on a nanny cam, starts thinking she's going crazy. Little does she know it's part of a much more insane plot. And it's so good. Every twist and turn, like, you're just wondering what happens next. And it actually was pretty spot on to the book.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I will say, I'm going to go back to ones that were unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not think this one was unsuccessful, but I was looking through like some online forums,
Mm-hmm.
and someone said that the Polar Express
What?
was bad. It sucked. A new movie. And all I have to say is, you can piss off.
Tell us
That
how
is
you really
literally
feel.
my favorite Christmas movie. Don't you throw that at anyone. It's a classic.
I can see the animation maybe throwing people off because it's a different kind of animation. It's almost like 3D.
It was awesome.
It's a cute little
Literally,
storyline. I like watching it.
I cry every single time I watch the movie. Every time he's like, ringing the bell, and I'm like,
Oh,
it does me in. It does me in.
I have some honorable mentions. To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Have you seen that one?
It's a TV show on Netflix, right? Or
It's actually a movie, yes.
I started watching it. I don't think I really liked it that much.
So the book's by Jenny Han, and it's about a teenage girl who gets over her boy crushes by writing love letters to them, but she never sends them.
Mm-hmm.
Then one day, her sister finds the box and sends them out.
It wasn't for me, but I know so many people did like that.
Yeah, it was cute. It was pretty spot on to the books. The Summer I Turned Pretty was one of my favorite series on Amazon. I really liked how we got the perspective not only from the teens, but also from the adults going through, one is going through her friend's cancer journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's like adult best friends going through this, and then teens going through like romance troubles. But it's just like, overall, it's just a wholesome series, and I really liked how they did that. Crazy Rich Asians was a fantastic movie. I haven't read the book, but these are kind of just rave reviews from other people. Black Beauty myself, I absolutely loved the movie back in 1994. Wasn't born yet, but when I was old enough to watch the movie, I absolutely loved it. And then I read the book and actually thought the movie was better.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's something like that sometimes.
The Chronicles of Narnia.
Yep.
I did read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I really, really liked the movies.
I read them a long time ago. I can't really remember to compare, but
yeah. All I know is I loved them. Something kind of new, kind of not, The Handmaid's Tale.
I'm excited to read that.
Mm-hmm.
That's on my TBR this month.
Yeah. I haven't read the books, but I saw the series, and the series is very dark. So I'm kind of excited to read the books, but a lot of people who read the books really like the series.
Nice.
Do you have any more?
I mean, I have a long list. I feel like we can go on all day, but
some honorable mentions.
Yeah, honorable mentions. Gone Girl.
Ooh, I like that one.
Death on the Nile, Murder on a Train. I have Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I have The Shining by Stephen King.
Okay.
I have The Wizard of Oz, Forrest Gump, Star Wars.
Duh.
And then Dune.
I've heard mixed reviews about that one.
Really? My husband read the book, and we watched the movies together. He loved it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And then I also, kind of controversial nowadays, I will say, but Gone with the Wind.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I have to kind of mention it because it was very successful when it came out. Like, it is, I believe, if not the top grossing film of all time, or at least the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so the movie was very long.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, it was very, very popular.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I was old enough to watch it yet.
Yeah, there's definitely...
There are some trigger warnings in that one. Yeah. But yeah, those were our takes on books being turned into movies and screen adaptations. If you have a favorite or least favorite, please let us know. Main Character Syndrome Pod on social media. We now have a link tree. You can go to linktree/MCS Pod. That will have all of the links that you need to see our stuff. For now, to the readers who listen, we'll see you later.
Bye, everyone.